Here's a quick demonstration of the new Element Pro application that comes with every LIBS instrument from SciAps. This Element Pro software is designed for customers who need to test samples that they know they're not calibrated for, or when you just need to do a quick screening of the sample instead of trying to get a nice, accurate, quantitative result out of it. Basically, it collects a spectrum, and then you get some qualitative information like which elements are detected, and you can do some nice things like looking around at the spectrum and viewing peaks. So let's try it out. I'll tap Element Pro and we'll see the camera image pop up. Now I'm going to take a test of an old lab beaker here, and we'll see what we can see in the beaker glass. So I've got my sample lined up. I'm going to hit the start button. And when the test is done, when the laser stops firing, we get a nice big view of the spectrum at the top. And down below, we have a list of all the elements detected. You can see here, the top element here we see is sodium. We can tap on sodium and it displays the strong sodium lines out at 588 on the right side of the spectrum. We can tap on silicon, and now we see the strong silicon lines. We can tap on boron, and now we see the strong boron lines highlighted on the spectrum as well. I'll double tap on boron, and that'll bring us to a new view of the spectrum, kind of an expanded view, where at the bottom of the screen we see the strong emission wavelengths for boron. We can tap on 208.96 nanometers, and it'll zoom right into that peak where we see boron. And we can confirm, yeah, the green line lines up exactly with where the peak we would expect to see boron shows up. Then I'll tap on the 249.87, and in this case there's a nice boron doublet there that we can zoom in on. So we see the nice two boron peaks right next to each other, as expected. I'll go back, and we can view these results on the main screen again. A few other elements we're detecting. We see carbon. There's a strong carbon line at 193 nanometers. There's aluminum, hydrogen, and then down below here, these are some other elements that we might see a peak for, but we're not very confident that we're actually seeing them in the spectrum because there's just not enough information to say confidently that that peak exists. But these elements up here and above with the green numbering next to them, those are detected, and the green number is supposed to give you a kind of general idea: is there a lot or is there a little? It's a unit we call relative abundance, and it's not necessarily percentage, but kind of how strong that element is in the spectrum. So it gives you a little bit more information. Is there a lot of it, or is there a little of it? Next to that, we have the percentage of the strong lines displayed. So you can see here in sodium we have 100% of the strong lines displayed. And then next to that, on the right side of the screen, we have likelihood, which is just another kind of metric to say how confident we are that we're seeing that element. So I'm going to shoot one more sample here. I have a piece of beryl, which is a mineral. I'm going to line this up in front of the window and hit start. The laser will fire and collect a spectrum. And when the screen flips over, we have a new list of results here, and a new spectrum that's a little more interesting than the glass spectrum. Here again we see sodium. We see sodium almost all the time. And then right below that we see beryllium. If we wanted to go and double tap on beryllium, we can say, let's see, there's our nice beryllium peak at 265, and then we can jump to 313 and see another nice beryllium peak there at 313 nanometers. So Element Pro is a great way to screen your samples and get an idea of what elements may exist. It's also a great starting point. If you have a new sample that you're wondering if you can measure with LIBS, you test it in Element Pro and you can confirm the elements you want to measure are there. Then you can go and use our Profile Builder PC software to build a calibration for it. And finally, you can get quantitative results out after the calibration as applied to the instrument.
Okay, the last thing I want to show is this app that we call Element Pro. We include it with every analyzer we ship. And I think what I love about this app is, in the LIBS technology in general, is I can shoot anything. And in 5 seconds, this analyzer will do a scan of the entire periodic table. And it'll show me all the elements that it's found in whatever I'm shooting without having any calibrations. Now, it doesn't quantify it because there's no calibration. But it gives you an idea if there's a lot of something or a little of something. But it's so valuable, I think, especially in a recycling environment, if you get some odd material in, that you can just shoot it and at least get some idea what's in it. And if it's really an odd, unusual material, you can always calibrate. This instrument is so flexible, you can add elements, you can add calibrations, you can do everything with it. So if you get something strange, unusual, you shoot it, you figure out what's in it, then you add a calibration if you want. But it's, I think, a very valuable tool, just to be able to say, what's in this, and shoot it. And in 5 seconds, no. I don't think there's any instrument in the world that in a few seconds can tell you the elemental breakdown of some piece of material. So this is a great example. I was visiting a recycling facility recently, and I was handed this little piece of material, and none of us knew what it was, and so I shot it, and we'll shoot it again right here. So this is shooting this piece of material with this app called Element Pro. So you see, we do the 5-second scan, and it's going to go through, it's going to look at every line, and it's going to come up, and it's going to show me everything it found in that's likely to be there. So let's look through the list. So the green numbers, the green numbers higher than about 2 are really pretty reliable. So you can look at this thing and you see it's found some silver, some copper, some zinc, some cadmium, some sodium. Sodium is probably just from the salt on your fingertips from all the people handling it, and some palladium and some calcium again. Calcium again is probably from the handling. So let's look at how real this is. Let's tap on silver, and it shows the silver lines. Let's double tap it, and it zooms in, and then you can pick a line, and there you go. You see there's where you would expect to see a line from silver, you have one. Let's look at this peak, and let's look at this peak. Again, you expect a line there, it's there. Same with this peak. So silver is certainly there in a pretty high quantity based on the size of the peaks. Let's look at something more interesting. Let's tap cadmium. We'll double tap cadmium and tap there, and sure enough, you see the 2 of the main cadmium lines. There's another one out at 640. Yet another one. So clearly there's a goodly amount of cadmium there. Sodium, again, this is just from the handling, but typically you'll see your very characteristic signature of the twin sodium lines out in the high 500s. Again, the wide range spectrometer here allows you to capture that. Most other handheld LIBS don't. And then one of my favorites, some palladium. You say, is there really palladium in that sample? Let's double tap that palladium icon and tap that first line, and you see a peak there. See a peak there. Another peak there. So, in fact, it's a good, there's also some palladium. So I think that's a great example of, that's why we include this app with every analyzer we sell, whether you're buying it for geochem or alloys or something else, because we want our customers to be able to shoot something and know what's in their material, at least qualitatively. So if it's not calibrated for that material, then they have the software to go ahead and make that calibration.